Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Fantasy Football. My name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth, and substituting for Ryan Skolrud is Alex Fleming. I know we're going to miss Ryan tonight, but Alex, we're going to do a good job on our own, aren't we, Alex?
Yes, we are. We should be able to do this just fine.
I'm not worried about it with all the amount of years that I've been in football and the fact that you've been in it quite a bit. I guarantee you one thing, we'll have a lot of energy on this broadcast. There will be no shortage of that. We'll have a lot of RPMs on this broadcast. So, folks, get ready for a very quick, entertaining, enthusiastic ride. And what we're going to be doing tonight is we're going to be picking a lot of football games. And we're going to lead off with tonight's football game, the Indianapolis Colts against the Tennessee Titans. Alex?
All right, so Indianapolis' defense is number one. Number one against the run and about fourth against the pass. What's Tennessee's specialty? Derrick Henry and running the football. This is a matchup of what's good for you is bad for me and vice versa. Is Phillip Rivers going to act right tonight? Because I do believe there's a little bit of a thunderstorm in Tennessee. If the Indianapolis defense can shut down Derrick Henry and force Ryan Tannehill to beat him, I don't think Tennessee can do it. However, are we getting the good Phillip Rivers or the bad Phillip Rivers? This is a coin flip. I'm going to go with Indy.
You're going to Indianapolis? Okay. I'll go with Tennessee. Too much Derrick Henry means you have Tylenol 10 if they make such a thing. But it'll be a very painful situation for the Colts if Derrick Henry takes off. And if Ryan Tannehill is a fraction of what he should be, the only one singing the blues will be the Colts in Music City. We don't need a Music City miracle there. We'll have a Music City motor and Derrick Henry. Because I'll tell you what, this guy's an 8-cylinder running back with a lot of power. All right. Sunday, Washington football team against the Detroit Lions. I guess the big story in this football game is the return of Alex Smith coming from a gruesome injury. The comeback is complete against Matthew Stafford, who's had a full week to finally prepare for a football game, not having to deal with COVID-19. Oh, I don't know, 3-5, 2-6. A lot different than the first game that we had when Indianapolis was 5-3 going into the football game against Tennessee 6-2. So we'll take, like I say, the Titans 6-2 record and turn it upside down with Washington 2-6 and the Lions 3-5. What are you looking for at Ford Field?
I'm glad this game is in Detroit. The Washington football team is going to run into an old friend by the name of Adrian Peterson. Yeah, I don't think they should have let him go, but Ron Rivera wanted to go with the young talent. Oh, another little tidbit. Alex Smith is 5-0 against the Detroit Lions in his career. Why would I mention that? It's 2020. It's time for that streak to end. And Washington seems to have an issue with letting brand new players have breakout games. I don't want to count the game that DeAndre Swift had against Jacksonville as a breakout game. I think he breaks out against Washington. I got Detroit.
Every time I pick Detroit, they lose, although I did get it right in Atlanta, barely. But
Barely.
Right. But I'm going to go with the Lions to win this football game. I think remember, Matt Patricia's still fighting for his job, even though I think it's a foregone conclusion. He'll be gone. I also think it's a foregone conclusion. Bob Quinn will be gone, but I'll give the Lions a win at Ford Field anyways. Now, in a game my wife and I were supposed to go to, but COVID-19 had other ideas, the Jacksonville Jaguars 1-7 against the Green Bay Packers 6-2. Yes, Alex, we were thinking about going to this game, but COVID-19 got in the way. Unfortunately, we are in South Florida. Nevertheless, the Jaguars are taking Jake Luton. Not a bad place to make your second NFL start over at Lambeau Field. There won't be any fans there, but nothing like playing at Lambeau anyhow. It's a mismatch on paper with the Jaguars 1-7 against the Packers 6-2. How do you size it up?
Everybody says Packers are going to win, Packers are going to win, Packers are going to win. Hey, guys, let me blow your minds real quick. Um, Aaron Rodgers is 7-6 against the AFC South. He struggles against the AFC South. No one's expecting the Jaguars to win this game. But then again, did anybody expect Luton to throw for 304 yards and run and pass for a touchdown? No. What's the weakness on the Green Bay Packers? They can't cover you or me. Running back. Look for James Robinson to have a big day. I'm not calling upset. Green Bay will win this game, but don't expect a blowout. Don't. That's not going to happen.
Well, I'm going to give the Packers a win. I'll probably give them a 7 to 10 point game, but I think you're right. It will be more competitive than most people think it will. I do. Jake Luton right now, to me, is a guy who is auditioning for the job. Who knows whether the Jacksonville Jaguars will draft a quarterback in the early rounds right now, but when you have an audition for like 7-8 games, why not? There won't be any Minshew mania. The question is, in Jake, will we trust? Well, we'll find out the rest of the year. So I'm going to go with the Packers, but I think the Jaguars will be competitive in this football game. All right, let's go to Carolina, where Tom Brady's hoping he's got Carolina on his mind, because I'll tell you, he didn't look like he had Tampa on his mind on Sunday. The Buccaneers going to this game 6-3. The Panthers 3-6. Take that record upside down. Take a look at Alex Fleming's article. And what are you reading there, buddy?
I'm going to say this nicely. Tampa Bay is in desperate need of some soul searching. They looked pathetic against the Saints. They were embarrassed on national television. They were outrushed. They were outpassed. They were outmanned. They were outsacked. They were outcoached against the Saints. Hell have no fury like a woman scorned, and Tom Brady will be playing Karen on Sunday. Every way, shape, and form, this is going to Tampa Bay.
It doesn't hurt that Christian McCaffrey will be out for a while either for the Panthers. So, I guess I get a little tired of hearing Bruce Arians spout his mouth. But nevertheless, the Buccaneers are going to go into Carolina with a win anyhow. All right. Houston Texans 2-6 against Cleveland Browns 5-3. I read today that the Houston Texans got rid of one of their communications people. That's how bad it's getting up there. I know that it looks like a yawner in your eyes if I'm reading the body language pretty well, but it's on the schedule nonetheless. What do you got?
All right, so Amy Polkich was a Rozelle Award winner. She was instrumental in J.J. Watt raising all that money for the hurricane relief a little bit more than a year ago. She is an excellent promoter and PR, and she tweeted off of her own account, not the Houston's account. And to quote why Houston fired her, they felt that she wasn't a cultural fit. Are you kidding me? J.J. Watt wants out. Deshaun Watson is trapped because he signed a contract. There is no DeAndre Hopkins. DJ Reader's in Cincinnati. The receivers are starting to drop footballs. They beat up on a 1-7 Jacksonville squad. And Cleveland's coming off of a bye. Is there anything else I need to say? Cleveland wins this game.
What'd you say, going away?
No, it'll be competitive because Deshaun Watson has heart. But Deshaun's stuck on a franchise that the McNairs, they're not going to back him. As he said before, you can't have the inmates run the prison.
Right.
Yeah, there's a lot of problems in Houston.
Yeah, I'll go with the Browns. I go with them handily because you're right. Even Romeo Crennel, who, by the way, used to coach the Cleveland Browns and struggled there, he's just keeping the seat warm for a successor. And many people feel that it'll be Eric Bieniemy. So I'll go with Cleveland as well.
It also doesn't help when Houston gives up 160 yards rushing per game.
No, it doesn't, does it? So I think Cleveland will have no problem winning this football game at all. All right, the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Giants. Philadelphia 3-4-1. The Giants 2-7. Who do you got?
Ugh. Ugh. NFC least. Ugh. Okay, so if Danny Dimes doesn't trip over his own damn feet, they win the first matchup. The problem is Philadelphia's won, I think, 7 or 8 straight against the New York Giants. I mean, ugh. Philly in a close, very non-entertaining game. Ugh.
Okay.
I got nothing. I got Philly.
Okay. Well, you know what? In a division that nobody seems to want, that Philadelphia will probably get, yeah, the Eagles definitely will beat the Giants. I believe so as well. All right, now one of the more intriguing matchups of the week. Okay, well, let's start to grab. Remember, a lot of these now are the early games. It's a good reason why they are the early games. It gets interesting later in the day, okay? And I mean really later in the day, okay? And we will, right in my backyard here in southern Florida, the LA Chargers, the best 2-6 team on the planet, against the Miami Dolphins 5-3. Tua drafted 5th overall, Justin Herbert 6th overall. I'm surprised the Chargers don't have any more wins, but we have ourselves a good matchup here at quarterback.
We have a damn good matchup. Okay, look, Justin Herbert is getting that welcome to the NFL treatment in his rookie year. Why? Because he's been giving it to opposing defenses. This man has 2,146 yards, 17 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. He's a rookie! This guy is good. And when he figures it out and they fix that defense, he is going to be a problem for years to come. Enter into Tua Tagovailoa, who should have been the number 1 draft pick, but he got injured his last year in Alabama, which is a pure pro-style offensive system. He looked great against Arizona. The hip's no longer an issue. 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he even scoot and boogied for almost 50 yards rushing. This is an excellent matchup. Miami's got a 4-game winning streak. I love me some Justin Herbert, and I will play him in fantasy this week because he's going to put up numbers. But with Xavier Howard and Byron Jones and the way that defense is swarming and not having to deal with Kyler Murray, who made that Miami Dolphins defense look silly, I like Miami in this game Sunday.
Yeah, I do too. Tua Tagovailoa will only get better with more and more games. He was carried in the first game because of the defense. The more and more acclimated he gets, it doesn't hurt to have Ryan Fitzpatrick on the sidelines, mentoring him as well. Ryan Fitzpatrick taking the high road. Tua Tagovailoa, okay, is taking the new road. So, you know, I got to tell you, this franchise is interesting because I remember many years ago when Bob Griese got hurt, a fellow by the name of Earl Morrall replaced him during the year and took him to a Super Bowl. Do I think there's anything like that? No, but it's not uncommon for a quarterback to get replaced, although the only thing is that Ryan Fitzpatrick isn't taking over later, but Tua Tagovailoa does represent the future, and he'll probably be the best quarterback since Dan Marino played over at Joe Robbie Stadium. So, yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to win a very good football game, and they may win by about double digits too. I really think that they're playing, and they're playing really well. So I'm with you all the way there, Alex. Now, this game, to me, intrigues me, and I'll tell you why it intrigues me, because of what happened in Western New York a week ago. Who would have thought that the Buffalo Bills would beat the Seattle Seahawks? I don't know. I certainly wasn't sure about it. Then again, you are. So go ahead and brag, advertise. You should. You probably called it. So with that said, call this one too. Buffalo against Arizona out in the desert.
I want to give a shout out to my dog, Mookie Hawkins, Buffalo Bills beat writer and reporter, WUFO, InfoCube Sports. Josh Allen lost his grandma last week. Hence the reason why he had a 415-yard, 3-touchdown passing, 1 rushing touchdown game. More than $400,000 has been sponsored and donated towards the cause after he's lost his grandmother. Enter in the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Miami Dolphins are the only team that went 3-1 against the NFC West. You know who has a chance to do that? The Buffalo Bills. They've already beaten Seattle. They barely beat the Rams. And now enter in Arizona. You got to go to the toaster and play a team who's got a hot quarterback who rushed for 106 yards and a touchdown last week and 283 yards passing and 3 touchdowns last week. Here's the problem. Buffalo's defense is just a touch better than Miami's. Look for some of that stuff to get shut down. Oh, and by the way, with Arizona's secondary, who got Diggs? Stephon Diggs leads the NFL in 813 yards receiving. He's been a bit of a problem. Oh, and by the way, last year he had 1,130 yards total. We're at the halfway point. They played 9 games because they're 7-2, and he's got 813. So do the math. Buffalo circles the wagons.
Yeah, I like the Bills in this football game too. This team here could be a sleeper when you get to the tournament. Everybody's selling them short. Don't. Okay. I know everybody's riding the Kansas City Chiefs, how good they are. And you know what? They should. They're the defending Super Bowl champs. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 8-0. Okay, I get that, and we're going to segue to them in a moment. But this Buffalo team has the most underrated coach in the NFL, and Sean McDermott. He is a good coach. If they can get their running game together, Josh Allen was the guy that slipped to Buffalo, and a lot of people had red flags out of him. But when he came out, guess what? He's proving a lot of people wrong. And if you can't get a quarterback to come to Buffalo via free agent, what better way to bring one there? Draft them, develop them, and the Bills have done exactly that. I'm going to tell you, folks, you'll hear more about the Buffalo Bills as this season progresses. I know we're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers being undefeated up to this point, and I know we talked about the Titans being an interesting team to watch out for, but this team here intrigues me. And I'm going to go with Buffalo winning out in Arizona as well. Let's segue over to the Cincinnati Bengals, 2-5-1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know why I keep forgetting records, but I won't. I want to circle back to the Buffalo Bills though for a moment before we go forward. Did you ever expect them to be 7-2 halfway into the year?
Actually, yes. I thought they would beat Tennessee and be 8-1 and be one of the big class in the AFC. They took that L and they're 7-2. I'm not shocked that Buffalo's good. I kind of expected it.
Okay. And Arizona Cardinals at 5-3. Is that about where you expected them to be?
They're a dark horse. They're a wild card in this year's playoffs, but they do make the playoffs.
And it helps where you have a conference where a lot of teams aren't very good, which gives them a chance to get in. All right, now we'll segue over to the Cincinnati Bengals, 2-5-1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 8-0. I think when you look at the Bengals, I like Joe Burrow. I really do. And now the question in this football game is, will Ben Roethlisberger be playing, or will they have a backup? We all know how the Steelers are like when they're there. So, do you have any insights on what to expect out of Pittsburgh?
Joshua Dobbs is the backup that they want. Mason Rudolph is just incoherent and babbling incoherently. You can't win with Mason Rudolph. Joshua Dobbs, he's a bright guy on and off the field. But Big Ben has a chance to play. He needs to pass 2 more COVID tests, and he'll be able to play in sync. Because you know what? Cincinnati is nasty. Did they not dismantle Tennessee just a couple of weeks ago? Cincinnati can play. Joe Burrow is turning this corner. And now that they picked up Takkarist McKinley from the Atlanta Falcons, they might actually have a pass rush. Now, Cincinnati's one of the last teams that's owned by a mom and pop. And some say they're cheap. No, the problem is they're loyal. They pay their long-standing players. Look for Joe Burrow to get more weapons, not only in the draft, but in free agency. For now, this is Baltimore and Pittsburgh's division. Cincinnati's on the come up. Big Ben plays, Pittsburgh. Joshua Dobbs or Mason Rudolph plays, Cincinnati.
Really? I'll tell you what, though, I like Joe Burrow. He's certainly worthy of the number one pick. And before we go on any other games, let's talk about this quarterback class, Alex. We've already talked about Herbert and Tua, guys who I feel will be around for a while. Joe Burrow, Jordan Love will be a work in progress, okay, down the road. I get that. So how would you judge the early returns on this quarterback class, Alex? Obviously Jordan Love is a TBD. And of course, there's Jalen Hurts, who came later on. But these are some interesting quarterbacks.
All right, let's let Jalen Hurts have a pass because he's playing backup to Philadelphia. They're horrible. He doesn't get a lot of playing time. Let's push him to the side. Jordan Love is in no way, shape, or form a threat to Aaron Rodgers. So let's leave him alone.
Right.
Justin Herbert, showing out. I got to see this man throw at the combine. I was not impressed. I was wrong. This guy can ball. Tua, I thought he was the best quarterback in the draft. I still believe he's the best quarterback in the draft. He looks healthy. He needs to get acclimated with that Miami Dolphins system. They're 1 year ahead of schedule. I expected them to be this good next year, not this year. And then you have Mr. Burrow, who showed that he's not a flash in the pan. He's not just an Ohio State product. He's not 1 year LSU championship material. He's the real deal at quarterback. He's starting to change the face and the mentality of the Cincinnati Bengals. I think this is one of the best quarterback classes that we're going to have, and we're going to remember the class of 2020 for years to come for all the right and wrong reasons.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000% that I really do. I think that Cincinnati will give Pittsburgh a game. I think Pittsburgh, we talked about Jacksonville being competitive against Green Bay. I see the same sort of situation happen here where the Bengals will be competitive against the Steelers. I really do, but I think Pittsburgh in the end improves to 9-0. All right, the Seattle Seahawks 6-2 against the Rams 5-3. Thankfully, it's a later game. Russell Wilson, I don't think he's losing 2 in a row, but I'll tell you, he ate humble pie in Buffalo. And humble pie. Certainly don't know if he had the chicken wings out there, but how do you size up this matchup?
NFC West, toughest division in football. Russell with Lockett and, of course, DK versus Goff with Woods and Kupp. It's in L.A. Seattle's used to playing in San Francisco and L.A. Divisional matchup. If Seattle's offensive line can stop Aaron Donald or slow him down, I don't see how the Rams can keep up offensively with the Seattle push. Seattle 6-2 for a reason, and that Seattle defense is trash for a reason. I think Russell finds a way to win. I got Seattle.
Yeah, I'll take Seattle too. I don't see the Seahawks losing 2 in a row. I think the Rams, to me, haven't been the same since they won the Super Bowl. I don't think they're trying to figure out what their identity is right now. And losing Todd Gurley, who I thought was a good part of their rushing attack, I don't know who they really have that has really fully replaced them, to be honest with you.
Darrell Henderson is taking up most of the snaps. Malcolm Brown is more your goal line back. Cam Akers hasn't been healthy. He needs to learn the system. Overall, I think DJ Dallas might shine in Sunday's game. I got Seattle.
Yeah, I'm going to go Seattle as well. All right, on to the next one. The San Francisco 49ers, 4-5 against the New Orleans Saints, 6-2. Drew Brees made a statement big time on Sunday, didn't he? Beating Tom Brady for the second time in a row. And this one was ugly. Thankfully, I didn't watch it. I had other things to do that night.
It was disrespectful. It was rude. Drew Brees hit 12 receivers, 222 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was efficient. There was nothing he needed to prove. And now he's facing the San Francisco handicapped. No Jimmy Garoppolo, no George Kittle, no Raheem Mostert, no Trent Williams, no Kendrick Bourne, a 50-50 call Deebo Samuel, no Solomon Thomas, no Nick Bosa against a team that just shut down the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let me think about this one. Saints.
Well, that was a really tough thing to think about. Of course, it doesn't hurt when Michael Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders are viable weapons, and you get Alvin Kamara going, and it's definitely not a San Francisco treat in New Orleans. It'll be more like a New Orleans Hurricane out there, although I got to tell you, having been to New Orleans, those New Orleans Hurricanes out of Pat O'Brien's are pretty good. But I see the Saints winning in convincing fashion. Why this game is in prime time, I don't know. But again,
no idea.
But it is. The Baltimore Ravens 6-2 against the New England Patriots 3-5. Break this one down.
El Freaky has 17 touchdowns. He's been a bit lackluster this year. He hasn't been as flashy. Why? A lot of defenses have his playbook. They have the script. And until they grab Dez Bryant, they haven't been explosive at the receiver position. Willie Snead's nothing to cry home about. Miles Boykin, he's not a possession receiver, and Devin Duvernay's a rookie. I believe he is their future star, but he's got to get acclimated to the ways of the NFL. Let's see if Dez Bryant can make a splash on the receiving game. As far as the running game is concerned, everything's in business in Baltimore. They're about to get Mark Ingram back, who's been hampered with an ankle-leg injury. J.K. Dobbins is the truth. The rookie from Ohio State had an excellent game his last 2 games running out. Oh, and by the way, Lamar Jackson had 70 yards rushing, 58 yards rushing, 170 yards passing last week against a very tough Indianapolis Colts defense. Now, even though New England is 4th when it comes to total rushing yards on offense, that defense is susceptible to the run. And when was the last time we've heard from Stephon Gilmore? Have you heard from him? This New England team struggled against the Jets. I'm a fan of Cam Newton. Cam's the past. Lamar Jackson is the future. Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, there's no debate that the New England Patriots are a fraction of what they're all about. I mean, they're productive when James White gets involved. But outside of James White, you almost have to wonder, you need a scorecard to figure out who's on offense, because really they're a fraction of what they used to be. Everybody that, how Belichick likes to get rid of people before their time is up, it's like they're getting rid of him before his time is up. So nobody's drinking the Belichick Kool-Aid anymore. I don't know what you're drinking, but not the Belichick Kool-Aid. What are you drinking?
Lemonade.
There you go. Brisk. And that's how quickly we go through these picks. Brisk. How about that? All right.
I like that.
I've seen a few times where I've had to do a lot of brisking for the situation. And one of the things I used to deal with was brisking cold weather out Soldier Field when I used to cover the Lions and the Chicago Bears. Well, Monday night, you're going to have the Minnesota Vikings 3 wins and 5 losses against the Bears 5-4. Now the Vikings have won a couple in a row. Well, first of all, how do you feel? Let's talk about the Vikings for a moment and evaluate their performance the last 2 weeks. Right now, everybody was on Mike Zimmer's backside, and all of a sudden, it isn't so bad anymore, is it?
All right, let's be completely honest here. Dalvin Cook is saving Mike Zimmer's job. Dalvin Cook has more rushing yards than 11 NFL teams. Dalvin Cook has hit back-to-back 200-plus rushing yard games. There's only a couple of other running backs that's even done that. Dalvin Cook leads the league in rushing yards. Take away Dalvin Cook, I'm not quite sure this team wins a game. Now, let's talk about Minnesota as a whole. They haven't beat Chicago in 2.5 years. Chicago's beat them 4 straight, 5 of the last 6. Factor number 2, I believe Kirk Cousins is 0 forever on Monday Night Football. I can't remember the last time Kirk Cousins won a Monday night game. As a matter of fact, I can't remember it because he hasn't won a Monday night game. For some odd reason, the Chicago defense likes shutting down everything about the Minnesota Vikings. So you know who I'm going to pick? The Minnesota Vikings. Guys, it's 2020. Has this year taught us nothing? Everything that was supposed to happen has not happened. And that includes the election. Minnesota over Chicago, and I'm not happy about it.
Well, I'll go with Nick Foles and Soldier Field anyways. Against my better judgment, I will do it anyhow. I do know that when you have a team that plays indoors, how they play outdoors later in the year, well, weather can become a factor. And having been in that building before, I know how the things factor in. But you're right, though. Dalvin Cook has saved Mike Zimmer's job, although I think he might have gotten a pass anyhow. But this does make it easier. Now, on a broadcast where you're talking about Alex Smith being 5-0 against the Lions, and I love you circling the wagon back there, this is going to happen because it's 2020. That should be the theme of this broadcast, because whatever 2020 is, Alex is making sure he points it out. With that said, okay, be prepared for anything. And I think that you're all right. I mean, this could go either way. Streaks are what they are. There comes a point where at times they can indeed be broken. You have a couple here that could be broken.
I have one question for you, sir.
Sure.
We did not touch the Denver-Las Vegas game. ¿Por qué?
Go ahead. Talk about it.
Denver's on a slippery slope. Las Vegas is trying to keep in track for the division. They still have a chance of winning the division because they're the only team to beat Kansas City. I like what the Vegas Raiders have to offer. Between Ruggs, Waller, and, of course, my dog Josh Jacobs, I think Vegas beats Denver soundly. Even though Denver has won 12 of the last 17 matchups, that was the Oakland and LA Raiders, not the Vegas Raiders. I like the Raiders.
I'll go with the Raiders. They may be getting fined up the wang in terms of COVID-19 protocols. They may be losing draft choices, but they're going to win the football game. I'm going with the Raiders as well. No matter where they're from, Oakland, Las Vegas, you get the drill. I'm with you. So when you put this week in its proper perspective, Alex, the floor is yours. What do you think people should look for?
Week 10, separation week. We're at the halfway point. If your team is going to make a move or be in the playoff bid, now's the time. I'm not done with the Los Angeles Chargers. I believe they could be a thorn in a lot of people's sides. Herbert is starting to figure it out. And you've seen how he's been losing a lot of these games. Last possessions, last minute, calls not going his way. I guarantee you this. Next year, and definitely year 3, he's going to be a problem. Pittsburgh's been escaping by the skin of their teeth. They need Big Ben more than they know. Baltimore, quiet as kept. They're on the outside looking in, which is exactly where they want to be. Put some respect on the Bills Mafia name. Buffalo doesn't get the respect they deserve. Oh, and Buffalo has a winning record against Arizona, so they're not going to be intimidated in the toaster. Thank God there's a bye week for the Dallas Cowboys. Adrian Peterson might run crazy. And a shout-out to all the veterans across the country and the globe. Jeremy Stills, Ryan Welsh, Dwayne Huff, the Ard family, Amber, and your sister, Della Petro. absolutely every single person who served in the military, thank you for making this country what it is today. Oh, and last but not least, bear down. Prove me wrong. Please beat Minnesota. Because if you lose this game and fall to 5-5, Nagy needs to go.
And then you get to hear from me about it, by the way, because I can tell you that the Bears, if the Bears win and you're picking the Vikings, then you have to deal with me next week. But then again, I've made so many boneheaded predictions, so it doesn't make any difference. One thing I want to add to this whole thing is this. I'm still a little bit baffled why the Green Bay Packers still haven't improved the wide receiving position. You had the best quarterback in the league. I still believe Rodgers is. Why have they not found a way to bolster that position, Alex?
Because they're cheap. They're not trying to bolster that position. Here's the funny thing about LaFleur. He picked up another running back, and he's got a room full of tight ends that could catch the ball between Tonyan and Sternberger and Mercedes Lewis. Addition by subtraction. Devontae Adams is a mismatch nightmare. Marquez Valdes-Scantling is the true number 2. When Lazard comes back, he could be the number 3. You have an excellent tight end room, and you have arguably probably the best backfield between A.J. Dillon and, of course, Aaron Jones, with Jamal Williams being your pass-catching back. Aaron's got weapons. You need an offensive line. You need linebackers. Offense is not the problem.
All right, now the Detroit Lions picked up Mohamed Sanu. They added him to their practice squad. I know they missed Kenny Galladay. Do you think Sanu at some point will make any kind of an impact? Play for the Lions, obviously, you pointed out Des Bryant a little bit earlier.
I mean, between Galladay and Jones, no, not really. I still like Amendola as the number 3, but you never know. They're trying to save Chuck E. Cheese's job.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Jacksonville Jaguars, let's talk about them for just a moment. Signed their 6th kicker. What is going on up there at that position?
Bro. Man. Lambeau can't stay healthy. They keep signing thugs and soccer players. This McLaughlin guy, I'm burnt out at the kicking position. The defense can't stop a nosebleed. Henderson is inexperienced as a rookie. Miles Jack needs to go back to linebacker instead of having his hand on the ground at the defensive end position. Put Josh Allen as a linebacker as well. Schaubert's not your real answer. You're in Green Bay. This has the potential to get ugly. Start Luton. I like Luton. He takes chances, but he's got an arm. He's not afraid, and he doesn't set up his wide receivers to get killed with headshots. Jacksonville's rebuilding. I think they're going after Justin Fields.
Do you really? Yeah, I mean, that doesn't surprise me. I know it's funny when you talk about Tua, though, because I know everybody was talking about the Dolphins tanking for Tua last year when they got off to that horrible start, and they landed the guy anyways with the 5th pick, so they got who they wanted. Well, let's talk about that. You bring up a really interesting point, Justin Fields. Okay, let's just say, first of all, do you think Trevor Lawrence would go out and land with the New York Jets?
I think Trevor Lawrence is going to leave and get that money while the bag is still there.
Okay.
What would it profit him to stay at Clemson for one more year? Maybe a national championship, and that's a maybe.
Right.
Injury,
right.
Probably. Draft class leaving when they're not that good, probably. No running back help with Travis Etienne gone, probably. It doesn't profit him to stay one more year. Sunshine needs to go to the NFL. Maybe he could pull an Eli Manning and refuse to play for the Jets. I wouldn't want to play for the Jets either. But nobody's giving away games in the NFL. Look for Sunshine to be gone after this year.
And one other note I want to mention. I know Gardner Minshew. I was covering the draft with the Jaguars a couple of years ago, and they brought him in. Of course, what are your thoughts about Gardner Minshew?
Last week, they said that he had a thumb injury and he was a dash scapegoat. That was very disrespectful. I, however, don't believe that he gets his starting job back. Jake Luton has shown glimpses in one game that Minshew couldn't do in an 8-game roster. 304 yards, 1 touchdown rushing, 1 touchdown passing, 1 interception. NFL debut. Gardner Minshew's had multiple games with 173 yards passing. DJ Shark, 12 targets, 7 catches, 146 yards, touchdown. Yeah. The offense runs better under Jake Luton.
What kind of a game do you think Matthew Stafford's going to have this week?
Washington's defense likes to harass the quarterback. Stafford's progressions is going to handle whether or not Adrian Peterson and DeAndre Swift can go off. If Swift and Peterson can run against that Washington defense, Stafford's going to have an excellent game. If they get stopped on the run, look for Stafford to get beat down more times than Peter McNeely.
Peter McNeely. I was actually at that fight, by the way, just so you know. That wasn't much of a fight, but I get the point, and that's a real knockout of a one-liner from a guy that saw that fight. Very, very, very good. So with that said, what about Kerryon Johnson? Will he factor into that Detroit running attack?
He has it for a couple of weeks.
Okay.
He needs to get traded.
Okay. Yeah, just like Amir Abdullah when he couldn't hold on to the football and he had a touchdown against them last week. Go figure. There you have it. Alex Fleming substituting for Ryan Skolrud. Alex Fleming appears with us as part of a 3-man booth. Today it's a 2-man booth. So with that said, Alex, why don't you let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Well, first and foremost, this was a Skull Kings fantasy production. Shout out to Ryan Skolrud for making this possible, and to the Motor City Madmouth Madman, Mr. Morganroth, for allowing me to even be a part of this participation and this show. Skull King, Skull Fantasy, get your head crushed by not listening to us. We tried to tell you so. You can catch me if you don't read the Florida Sun Review online, or Fantasy and Flavors is my Facebook page. I run a show called The Carousel. Just finished that earlier. Either you're on or you're off. If you're ready for that smoke, hit me up on Carousel NFL on Twitter. Maybe I can have you as a guest on the show. Oh, by the way, Sports Arena. We talk about all sports, football, basketball, lacrosse, hell. We even talk about golf. I got Brooks Koepka winning the Masters in November. How you like me now? Quote me on that. Also, last but not least, there are plenty of outlets that you can find my work, find my articles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, ALXFLMG, Alex Fleming, no vowels. You do the math. I want to send a shout out to absolutely each and every veteran who made our lives easier. Thank you so much for the sacrifice that you give us every day. And a shout out to Mr. Morganroth from the South Florida Tribune for making this happen.
Alex, I'm proud to have you on board. You know, yesterday I had a special broadcast with Steve Ballesteri, and we had a good Veterans Day broadcast. My wife Candy participated. It was an incredible salute to service broadcast. I got to tell you one thing that I really want to bring up now that you brought that Veterans Day up. On November 11th, 1996, I saw the Detroit Lions take on the San Diego Chargers at Jack Murphy Stadium. Barry Sanders with 2 touchdowns. Don Mikowski was actually the quarterback for the Lions, believe it or not, at that game. And I wish, and I really do wish, that the NFL would play a game on Veterans Day. I really do. Because I think that with a lot of sports owning particular holidays, like, for example, the NBA owns Christmas Day. NFL owns Thanksgiving, you know. July 4th owns by MLB. This would be a great opportunity to go ahead and pay tribute to the veterans. I actually saw the Green Bay Packers and the Jacksonville Jaguars play on 9/11 at our home stadium up in Jacksonville, and it was truly unbelievable. So, you know, what can we say to the veterans? You know, we appreciate everything you've done. We really, really do. And you know what, Alex, to me, the best addition that I've had to our lineup is by bringing you on board. I love your energy, your charisma, your knowledge, and your credibility. Now, in terms of how to get a hold of us, you can do so at Tribune South on Twitter. Once again, Twitter at Tribune South. Facebook and Instagram, South Florida Tribune Gets It Done. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, South Florida Tribune, and I'll give you 6 reasons why you should. Sports Exchange, No Limits, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk, Real and the Rare, Fantasy Football, the broadcast you're listening to and watching, and the South Florida Tribune podcast. Also, our website is www.southfloridatribune.com. We have the Motor City Monitor. We have our media distribution partners provide us content. We have columnists and the broadcast up here on there as well. You can email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com, or you can catch me on LinkedIn, Scott Morganroth. I'll be more than happy to connect with you. And if you want to hear the audio version of the broadcast, you can do so on Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. So, Alex, what are you doing this weekend?
This weekend, I might, and I'm using that word, might, have Sunday off, so I'm just going to relax. I'm a workaholic. I work in the morning. I work at night. You can find me on Orange Blossom Trail looking for love in all the wrong places on a very good common night. And when I'm not working, I'm writing, as you can see. So if I'm not working Sunday, I might just go fishing. I might just go after some blue crabs. I might go fishing for something else, but that's between me and whoever that person might be. But I will be relaxed.
Well, I'll be anything but, because Friday and Saturday I'll be off to Sebring Raceway, where they had the 12 hours of Sebring. I'm looking forward to it. The second year I've covered the event. And then, of course, the following week I plan to cover Florida Atlantic University against the University of Massachusetts. And, of course, I head back to Michigan. Unfortunately, the context of the trip, my mother is ailing, so I need to get up there and see her. I can only hope that she holds out for Thanksgiving, but I'm keeping positive thoughts about that. But meanwhile, we've enjoyed having you on the broadcast. Done a really good job filling in for Ryan Swirut tonight, and we love having you on anyways with a 3-man move. So it's been a lot of fun working with you tonight, Alex. And again, I don't pick losers. I picked you. So what can I tell you? You're a thoroughbred and a stud, and I'm proud to have you on the team. So keep up the good work and look forward to our next broadcast. So on behalf of Alex Fleming, my name is Scott Morganroth from Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Fantasy Football. And you guys have a great weekend. And one other thing, Alex, deliver the COVID message.
Oh, yes. Think about other people besides yourself. Wash your hands and watch your mouth. Other people matter besides you. Try to care about somebody else tomorrow and today.
There you go. You have it from Alex Fleming. So once again, on behalf of Alex Fleming, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Fantasy Football, and we will catch you the next time. Have a great weekend, everybody. Be safe. God bless.